There's the moon. Does this get the time? Play with it and see what it does. I purposely came over here to where I get better signal. Uh, and I'm low on battery a little bit. But CG Roxanne LLC, Montgomery County, Arkansas. What is this? The July 2nd, 2023. Um, I'm not almost on a talk loud because I don't know if I bother the neighbors, but shoot, they sometimes shoot or fireworks in hour 11. Um, I don't know if I can say anything in summary or not without this going off. And partly why I'm comfortable over here at this time is it's a Sunday and technically a holiday weekend. Uh, I hear something in the sky. However, I discovered this in hindsight. I did. I went with a woman to gynecology appointments starting, let's just say, May 2019. She had surgery late June 2019. Dr. Michael Colgrove, Hot Springs, Arkansas. There's peculiar instances along the way, and I can't add it up. In the moment, I'm thinking like, okay, well, she's gonna have like something serious. She's gonna have like cervical cancer, endometriosis. I don't know what to think of it. Well, as time goes on, I kind of get these, whether they were on purpose or not. I don't know. I just keep thinking about it from time to time, and not obsessively. It's like I couldn't let it go. It's like basically late summer. It's like soon after. I'll remember what happened first. After she already then girlfriend made the appointment for a tubal, saying to prevent pregnancy. She's saying her older sister, who's married to an anesthesiologist, they wanted to invest 10 grand into a surrogate mother to claim a dependent, and that would save up to $7,000 a month on child support to two minor children. Well, and I put this all in my reports. I don't know when I first start bringing this up. I don't know if I did it in the FTC report, March of 2021. I don't know. For some reason, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. That ended up being just like my outlet, and in other emails. Well, anyway, before the end of 2019, and a little bit later, I'm like, from time to time, I think about it. Okay, then girlfriend, she out of the blue makes an appointment right in front of me in the backyard, 3458 Highway 8 West, Norman, Arkansas, 71960. To the gynecology. She first requests a doctor that delivered her daughter going back to 2005. They said that doctor. Well, I find out he's no longer with us. They say. I find out later he went back to China. I did a Facebook commentary on that. It's after the surgery, probably sometime in July or August 2019, about one of the staff at National Park, how they said that doctor had to wait for somebody to die before he could safely return to China, and that he had scars on his back. Anyway, she's on the phone. She's on the living room to her mom one day in my living room. This is either not long before the surgery or not long after. June, July 2019, saying, hey, your sister and her husband, Eric Lee, and the reason I say his name is because he's a doctor. I mean, that's like public. I mean, you basically can't be a practicing doctor and not be able to be looked up in some ways. And by the way, who was the anesthesiologist that day? I don't start thinking about that until like summer 2021. And the nurse at this National Park Center, she brings it up on the cover page. It says National Park something. She points to the second page after then girlfriend gets back in the room. She's puffy, got oxygen in. She probably can't even remember anything that's said. Hours. So do not make any major decisions in that amount of time. I took note of everything that was said. Way later, I'm thinking about anesthesiologist. Who was it? How did that go? Don't tell me it was her brother-in-law. Anyway, just so many things added up that I can't like basically lie to myself and say she wasn't pregnant summer 2019. So the question would be, would I be the biological father, or would somebody else? Surely there's not any other pregnancy. I mean, yeah. This same woman says less than a year ago to somebody 16 in front of me, she says she would sell her eggs to somebody who could not have children. And then looked at me and said she wondered if she could still do that since the Dr. Michael Cogrove surgery. That was like July or August 2022, more or less in my backyard in the river. Um, there was only 2 pelvic ultrasounds. One week, it was a woman who done it, who just traveled and said she did that sort of thing. I chit chatted with her. I told her, like the previous week when we saw the Dr. Michael Cogrove, he said if a couple's having trouble to get pregnant, they prescribe blood thinners. I said I looked it up over the internet. There's a WebMD article from like 25 years ago saying that was an old line of thought. Doctors don't do that anymore. There's little to no evidence that blood thinners increase pregnancy or fertility. I noticed she had a funny look going out of that room that day, and I couldn't see the monitor. I asked her if it mattered if a woman was on her period or not. I'm like, these pelvic ultrasounds when they're scheduled. I said, what if a woman is on her period when she shows up? She says, no, it doesn't matter. But if we had our druthers or our preferences immediately after the period, the imagery would be better. Keep in mind, this was in a context of a woman not pregnant. I noticed when the woman, she was probably close to the age of 50, I don't know, between 45 and 50. I don't even know. I don't know. She had long brown hair. The light was off mostly in the room. We're in a small room. The light goes off. It's a therapeutic room. Girlfriend had to change out into a gown. Anyway, after that, the light's like mostly off most of the time. I noticed she had a funny look on her face after the pelvic ultrasound when she's leaving the room. I find out later she either spoke directly or indirectly to Dr. Michael Cogrove. She either spoke to his medical assistant, this woman who did the ultrasound technician, because I asked her if she even done this to men, like on their testicles. She said she did. I asked her if she met the urologist, Dr. Philip Woodward in the past, and she said she had, because I met him when I was 13. He's probably no longer alive. A man who told me I had like a varicose vein to my left testicle, and I had a 20% chance to go sterile. I don't know if he meant with or without an outpatient surgery. Um, anyway, it's. I think that okay. After the woman does the pelvic ultrasound, we end up in a different room. The Dr. Michael Cogrove is somehow or another it brings up the difference between a partial hysterectomy and a total hysterectomy. He looks at me and says, he's like, now I know you're going to help me with that. He's like, a lot of times a ER doctor will incorrectly say hysterectomy when technically it's like a partial hysterectomy instead of a total. I don't know if he just said that contextually because it's something that I had previously disclosed on Facebook publicly, or if that woman had spoken to him. I think she had. I think she told him or the medical assistant that I looked up that blood thinners did not help fertility. And that woman, let's say for the sake of argument, the woman I went there with was pregnant. So she's probably thinking in her mind, if she's seeing that she's pregnant on the monitor, and then I'm saying, hey, last week, Dr. Michael said if people are having trouble, couples have trouble getting pregnant, they prescribe the blood thinner. She's probably thinking, why in the heck is he giving them advice like that? This woman's very pregnant. So anyway, I want to say that's the day he prescribed Provera to her, to girlfriend. He prescribed it for 10 days. I can't remember if it's twice a day or just once a day. He prescribed it for 10 days. This is somewhere like between a Monday and a Thursday, because he always said he had surgeries on Fridays, unless pre-planned surgeries, not like getting called in, like fill in or emergency. So I wish he never said why, but he told her, he said, if you don't start your period by Monday, call my office. I'm in one room, she's in another. I'm asking out loud. I'm like, hey, did you start your period? She's like, no. I'm like, well, be sure and call that clinic, call the doctor's office. She called that Monday. The appointment was that Monday. I don't know what day it was. It was like a Tuesday, Wednesday, or a Thursday. Go in. He ends up telling her in front of me, he's like, the reason you didn't, he said your body didn't react to the Provera. because he said something about your uterus is very thick. You've got a lot of estrogen built up. He said something about estrogen. The build up of estrogen is why our body didn't react to Provera. And he went on to say, he's like, you've not been ovulating for a very long time. And keep in mind that back in like summer 2021, spring 2021, everything I just got done saying in a better format, I structured in lengthy emails with speak dictation. I mean, I sent it to a lot of email, a lot of, I don't know where I emailed it or attempted to email. I'm like, I just like timelined it. Like, what are the odds? Two sisters, summer 2019, one saying tubal to prevent pregnancy, so many weeks or just a couple of months later. The other sister who's married to an anesthesiologist saying going to invest 10 grand to a surrogate mother. So they'll have their own biological kid, but not only that, it would save up to $7,000 a month on child support, as he supposedly had minor children with between two ex-wives. And just earlier that year, they completed an adoption, a legal adoption, without getting into the details of it, where they could claim a dependent. So it looked like the desire for them to claim dependence on his almost up to $200,000 a year of salary went up. Anyway, it's hard for me to remember these details or the order of it. The woman does the pelvic ultrasound. After that, on Girlfriend, then we meet with the Dr. Michael Cogrove. It had to be that day. If it wasn't that day, it was the next week when he prescribed the Provera. Anyway, it's so many weeks after that, 1, 2, no more than 3, he does the pelvic ultrasound himself. Except on this particular day, we go in a room. The room we go into is the first time we're in this room. It's a spaceship. This is the only, we'd always meet his medical assistant. After you go to the main window in the lobby and then you go down the hallway, we'd always check in with her. And she would stand on scales and weigh. And I'd look at the lady sitting behind the desk. She's like 5'5", brown hair. She said her name was Bree. I don't know how she spelled it, but she said her name was Bree. She's like 5'4", 5'5", probably less than 150 pounds, 140 maybe. Always wore scrubs, kind of like dark colored scrubs. Anyway, we'd always just go in there. She would weigh and I'd weigh just because I wanted to. The scales look kind of big and accurate. And then she would lead us to the next room we would go to. She never stayed in the room until the day that Dr. Michael Cogrove is getting ready to do the pelvic ultrasound for the first time. Because either the previous week or previous 2 weeks, the lady did it, as I just got done describing. Well, anyway, she has us go in the room. She tells her where to go to dress out into a gown. I mean, she has to get out of her civilian clothes and get into a gown. Well, I think she leaves the room for a little while, and she does. He said she'd be back, maybe with the doctor. Anyway, next thing I know, they're both in there. I'm sitting in the corner in a chair, got my notepad and ink pen in my lap, getting ready to take notes like I pretty much always do. While Dr. Michael Cogrove Girlfriend's on the examination table in a gown. He's getting the pelvic ultrasound one ready. He's putting some of the clear gel on it or doing some things like that. His medical assistant starts standing on the left side of Girlfriend. I think her right hand is touching my then girlfriend's left arm, left hand, or it seemed really sympathetic or compassionate what she was doing. And keep in mind, my mind is analyzing this or seeing this in the moment. I'm wondering about it millisecond by millisecond, half a second. I'm thinking she's standing there so compassionate, oh man, I'm today, I'm my mind millisecond, fraction of a second is thinking we're going to find out bad news. So I've only had an echocardiogram done in my heart twice in my life. One time when I was either 17 or younger, and the last time in year 2015 when I was barely in my mid-30s. So what I can say about that is a lot of times, probably similar to pelvic ultrasounds, they're not allowed to give a diagnosis. A lot of times, if they're not a bona fide MD or whatever type of specialist doctor it's supposed to be, they may see something abnormal. They may know it's abnormal. They may know it's serious, but they can't tell you or always talk to you about it. They have to refer it to the doctor. Sometimes their facial expression or something like that might give away something. But I don't think they legally can tell you anything. So I'm saying to try to give a little bit of circumstantial background, understanding of where I'm at in these moments, because it may seem really illogical what I was doing, what I was thinking. Where in split second moments, split second decisions, my mind is probably coming up with an explanation, whether it was right or not, but a logical one. Like before Dr. Michael Colgrove gets ready to do the pelvic ultrasound, and then his medical tech is standing so compassionately, sympathetically, empathetically. She's standing while my girlfriend's laying on the examination table. My mind's computing, well, just either last week or 2 weeks earlier had the pelvic ultrasound. Dr. Michael Colgrove, that's recorded. He probably reviewed it. He may have saw some tumors. He may have saw some polyps. He may have saw something, so my mind is thinking there's a reason the woman is standing there that way. Why is she even in the room? And I even felt awkward. I felt like she thought I wasn't giving the moral support to girlfriend like I should have been. But I'm trying to focus on what the doctor's going to say and take notes, because he could say things that would be very difficult to remember, especially if I didn't jot it down, like the MTHFR gene. And there's another one that started with an A. He even mentioned mutated gene. And he mentioned increased risk of miscarriages, spina bifida. That was earlier on. That's after he got the results from the blood work. And that day, she said, I didn't get to see it, said she was urine tested and come back negative for pregnancy. Well, anyway, the medical tech is standing beside her, not for very, very long, the one that goes by Bree. I just say out loud that my girlfriend's afraid that she's either got endometriosis or cervical cancer. As soon as I say that, the medical tech puts her arms to her side and just walks out of the room. It's like a 20 foot plus 30 feet walk. She just walks out of the room and doesn't say anything. That was awkward. So I'm saying within less than 10 seconds, I'm computing why she's sympathetically, empathetically, compassionately standing by her, who's about to have a pelvic ultrasound, and like, oh, okay, it must have something to do with the pelvic ultrasound a week or two earlier. And then bam, I just say out loud, like, well, my girlfriend's afraid she's got endometriosis. That's the word I used. She told me that at home, like that week or earlier that day. As soon as I say that, the woman just leaves. And just to fast forward on that, what I discerned later, it's like they all knew she was pregnant. They all knew she was pregnant. I don't even want to get into the commentary on the surgery day when the medical tech that come in before girlfriend left the room for surgery, the way the guy talked and saying the doctor that went back to China delivered his son. Just the way they talk to me, them people. If people think I'm crazy, these people are a network subculture of something definitely crazy. They're crazy. They're crazy. They're sick and very secretive. After the Dr. Michael Colgrove completed the pelvic ultrasound, after he got started, I maybe glanced up at the monitor once for like barely a whole second, if that. I'm thinking there's no reason for me to look at this. I don't know how to identify polyps. I don't know how to identify cancer. I'm like, this is definitely out of my scope. But after he gets done doing that procedure, the pelvic ultrasound, and his medical technician, keep in mind, she's already left the room, he walks up to me, looks right at me, and just says, nothing cancerous or precancerous. He must have got that off of something I'd posted before that day on Facebook, because I've always been, in general, worried about pre-cancer and things like that. Or I think anyway. And I shook the man's hand that day. I shook his hand and thanked him for being thorough. Late last year, I was saying I'd like to crush his hand. He wouldn't be able to do a surgery anytime soon. I took note. His handshake was weak both times. As far as I know, I only shook his hand twice. One of the two times, maybe both, he is the one who initiated. But I thanked him for being thorough. And what I meant by being thorough is right after he was saying nothing cancerous or precancerous, I thought he was playing off of the blood work, the lab work that he got weeks earlier when he was talking about her having the MTHFR gene and some other abnormalities. So I was set up to think, something abnormal. And more than just that, I thought the woman was chronic miscarriages. I thought she never had a child until only year 2005. She talked about, her and others talked about a miscarriage in 2013 and 2017. And then she brought up what she brought up to me in July or August 2018. So I know of three discussed potential miscarriages. On the first or second appointment with Dr. Michael Cogrove, he looks at her and says, "You've had 5 undocumented miscarriages." My brain split fire then. I'm thinking five. That number is awfully high. Five. I've never been told the five, even about her relationship or relationships before me. I remember thinking about that, but my mind had to shift in another direction. That I was thinking he did not believe her on the miscarriages. That he thought she was like having a clotty period or something like that. And that's when I politely asked if I could speak up. I asked if I could describe something to him. He said, "Sure, go ahead." I explained to him what she told me and showed me in July, August, whatever night that was of 2018, when she showed me a mass almost the size of my end of my pinky finger. She said she knew her body. It was early miscarriage, and it really affected me. Either at the result of me saying that, unless he already said it, he said, I think at the result of me saying that, the Dr. Michael Cogrove, either way, he said to her, he says, "You may want to see a hematologist down the road." I wrote hematologist down on my notepad. But anyway, I got the impression from him while he's talking to her, I'm thinking and discerning. I'm like, he doesn't believe that she's had miscarriages in the past. He thinks they're like just either a thick or clotty period. I don't even want to get the people that live across from me. I don't even want to get into the audio sounds I heard however many weeks ago. The day I went to Walmart, returned an Apple phone. I'm over there mowing using a chainsaw. I'm hearing something that is playing an audio or whatever it was. Like it's like somebody talking constant low. Oh, that's why I was wanting to look up, and I didn't yet. There's something about a good neighbor law. The neighbor that lives right across from here, he tells me November 2021, something about good neighbor law. You may want to look into that. I don't know what he meant to this day. I don't know if it's contractual. I don't know if it's something else. I don't know if it's something I've been wrongfully accused of. I don't know. What I mean, what's constitutional law? What's the right to due process? What's the right to a fair and speedy trial? I don't know what's all happened in my life in the state of Arkansas in the past so many years, before my mother's demise and afterwards. But apparently, I offended a lot of people with what I disclosed on Facebook before my mother died, and definitely after she died. So even presuming, say an entity like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, say they got a lot of my emails and other things going back to, let's just say, summer 2021, about me timelining all what word do I use? The abnormalities that I've already, peculiar behavior that I've already described herein. I mean, the woman had to be pregnant. She had to be. It's like I said this earlier today on a video I'll probably never upload unless I have. It's like I feel like I have all but the smoking gun. I have all but the video evidence. She had to be. She had to be. And then if she, what was pre-planned? Where did the kid go? What did they? I'd like to know. I mean, man, and that's going to be 4 years ago. Just last month, 4 years ago. And I've been talking about it on and off for 2+ years, over 2 years. And not just talking about it, but doing my best to like report it, like either to entities like either Norton LifeLock, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And it's like if anybody looked into it and they found out, proven, it's, I've not officially been told anything to this day. Unless the phones are just messing with me. 6 or so months ago, earlier this year, late 2022, I'm getting hints like about child support. I'm getting hints about on who would mess with the phones. It would just talk about the local judge, Andy Reiner. And then my memory reverts to him. I've only seen him talk in court in person one time. That's September 2015, and it was over me. And he said to the judge that the Bible tells him and his coworkers to take care of the fatherless and orphans. He never said anything about widows or drug abuse or the mentally ill. or mental illness. I could tell he was angry that day. After Judge Jerry Ryan looked at me and said I was free to go, he just said out loud, looking in my direction, he said if doctors did not start sending medical documentation, he was going to start sending subpoenas to doctors. How do you think I feel? I wish I had that authority right now a long time ago with the Dr. Michael Colgrove and many other people. You don't think I wish I didn't have the ability to coordinate an interrogation or investigation going back 2 years ago? From Arkansas Department of Finance Administration. I thought it was just over. It started happening, I think, in late 2019, not long after girlfriend moved out. She moved out, you might say, September the 11th. 2019. I got more than one form from Arkansas Department of Finance Administration talking about offset, talking about. I thought it was just over. I still haven't paid it this day. $150 reinstatement fee that you pay at a revenue office, or I think you can pay it at a driver control office. But I don't know who it goes to. I think it goes to the Arkansas Department of Finance Administration. And apparently that's that's basically like the state treasury. That's what does the state taxes. I got more than one of them in the mail, like late 2019, maybe late 2020. And I started even wondering, like, did she file something different with my last name? Did she file her taxes saying we were married when we were not? Something's peculiar about why I got so many of those forms, unless that was just a fluke. And I probably had that entity mad at me because I wrote the letter of concern over my mother's driving ability in like June 2019 to Driver Control, which is one of the many entities under Arkansas Department of Finance Administration. I'm wondering. I'm basically saying, could there be a lien on property or some kind of claim about child support that I don't know about? And that goes back, these entities, if this is the case, and it's sad if I'm speculating all this for nothing, I mean, you would want somebody to have a right to make their defense or make their legal argument, sooner rather than later on an important matter like that. But I'm just saying, if something like that is going on, it shows how much these entities don't care and how much they've had that pre-planned. By pre-planned, I mean premeditated. And I don't know enough to even lay that out. I don't have bona fide legal representation, not that I will ever get it. And speaking of this, a public Arkansas attorney, Andy Reiner, he and John Max II watched me do my pro se case in civil circuit court spring of 2013 when I was trying to do a legal action on this entity right here, CG Roxanne LLC, and sent the notice to Page Baypour or the summons or whatever it was called to California, to Page Baypour. I mean, Andy Reiner and John Max II, there wasn't that many people in the courtroom that day. They had their backs against the wall and just watched like it was a play, a drama. So I'm just saying that these people have been following me with or without Facebook or both. I've been on their map where they've not really been on mine, especially the Andy Reiner. I've only seen him in person a couple of times in my whole life. And I'm being told by a relationship, to say a woman I dated year 2013 and year 2016, she's telling me on the phone in June or July 2020 that my mother, Debbie Abbott, she said she saw her in court go up to Andy Reiner and ask for an order of protection. And he said, no, I'm not giving you one. And then without you saying names, I've been doing, other than doctors and public attorneys, I've been doing really well here, and entities, not to say just any names of like individuals. Starting basically summer 2021, I'm learning somebody I graduated high school with is in drug court. The woman I just got done mentioning that I dated year 2013, year 2016, she's in drug court. Later that year, a long time on and off friend of hers, he's telling me over the phone or met a phone call, whichever it was, that he's going to be doing drug court with the other guy. That seems like their drug court kept getting extended. So I started wondering this, unassociated to any secret pregnancy or human trafficking, before fall of 2021. I'm like, everybody's crossing paths with this drug court judge. And everybody knows what other people are doing. They're even saying they're exchanging phone numbers in drug court. Everybody knows what's going on with everybody except for me. I'm the outsider. That relationship of 2013. She's telling me in my yard, summer 2021, that the drug court judge says, you don't think we don't feel guilty for sending a man to prison who has children? She gave no context. Also, she said something that summer. She's like, Scotty, what are you going to do with all that money? I don't know what she was talking about contextually. She said the drug court judge said he had his own mental health like psychologist, something like that, due to the stress of his job. The phones have hinted something about like an online business. I don't know. It was saying, going back as early as like January, February 2023, it was making it sound like it was the Andy Reiner saying, I need money for a business. I thought it meant maybe here. I thought it was somebody else who lives in Glenwood, like let's just say near McGrew Road, without saying a name, somebody that does storm cleanup. I didn't really know. But then in the past, like let's say less than 2 months, it started talking about like an online business. And let's just say there might have been some things I thought I privately did with Intuit TurboTax app or TurboTax app, where you can scan documents. I'm not wanting that man to make a commission off of me directly, indirectly. Andy Reiner. I'm not wanting him in my affairs. I view him as a conflict of interest. And I could see a lot of people doing, either spying into a camera or getting personal content and then trying to sell it overseas, or doing online business and sell it to like another country. So the end on that note here, I don't know what's all been going on in Montgomery County, Arkansas in regard to me. I don't know. I've had the phone difficulty for on and off for over 2 years. Sometimes the weather radio would go off. It would never say Montgomery County. Alerts would go off from time to time. I've had lots of weird things happen. In May or June of 2021, on a Windows HP device, I go to Amazon.com. It says, we want to make money with you, showing strange fishing equipment to like clean out lakes and ponds. In about October 2022, on a TCL device, under just a generic search in a Chrome browser, under Walmart.com, it says buy organic toddler food. Either a day before that or after that, an Apple phone said do something with the house and take care of your family. In about August or September 2022, on a Windows HP device, I just tried to do an internet speed test because I had my Moto E tethered to the Windows HP, and that's the only way it would let me use the internet at that time, or Bluetooth. And I just type in Walmart.com. I may or may not went to the book section on purpose. I may have. I don't even think I typed in a word. I don't know. But it come up with a list of self-help books on codependency. So just to isolate Walmart right there in the online category, it was right after this woman who left on August the 10th, 2022. So it was either late August or sometime September this happened, 2022. Walmart.com showing a whole list of books on codependency, self-help. Then just a couple of months after that, month and a half later, is when the Apple phone says do something with the house and take care of your family. And that's when the TCL device said under Walmart.com buy organic toddler food. There was some... in this time, the predictive text, or whatever you want to call it, on like a Gboard would say like reinfected with HIV after the arrest, tubal litigation reversal, meaning to allow pregnancy, selling of eggs, very lucrative. Late that year, it referenced a Michael saying after estate money, not far from where I'm at right now in October, about 2021, hunting dogs are barking from downstream. It referenced the name Michael, saying after hunting rights. So I've witnessed some things in real time to give me a level of accuracy or reason to believe some of the content I'd get through the phones. earlier this year said something about nephews, somebody's nephews that live not too far from here, but west of here, and one could work for this entity. Um, Okay, basically the first week of January 2023, I purposely go to Walmart.com trying to get information. I type in a certain email and just search it. I don't know how I'm coming up with these words, but I'm reading the words like she's been a big help. At that time, I thought it meant ex-girlfriend. Now I'm wondering, oh, what I have like a 3.5, 4 year old daughter that's been there that they met her or a. So with what has or has not went on, it's like there's a whole lot of people who know exactly what has went on, from governmental employees to non-governmental employees, except for me. And there's so much more I would like to know. Was there ever a tubal litigation reversal to allow pregnancy? Was it the Dr. Michael Cogrove who done it? There's a whole lot of medical malpractice, medical neglect right there, right there. There's so many things I would just have to I'd have to know, you know. So it's like after all this, and this will probably stay at 0 views. I don't know. I'm only kept going with it because it kept working. I tried to do it earlier today, but from the yard, it wouldn't work right. It had to get more signal. Um, on top of that, why did she say summer less than a year ago, summer 2022, so-called ex-girlfriend? She would sell her eggs to somebody who could not have children. And look at the greed of all this, you know, and something that I've been thinking of in the past so many months, the more so, is potential child support. So it's like, you know, they're wanting property, money. If this is true, if this is associated to pre-planned pregnancy, human trafficking, you know, get rid of me, get property, make money off of the property, directly or indirectly with this CG Roxanne LLC. I mean, man, you know, people wanting to use a DNA child, you know, at the expense, for the investment. I'm an only child. My mother was an only child. If there is some kind of online trading, selling, or business, I'm hoping something can be put in an objective, like trust account, pending this matter, or until I can learn more. Again, I wish I had objective legal representation and not locally from Arkansas. Even a man with the Department of Transportation pulled in my driveway December 2020, not too many months after my mother passed away. He said, in regard to this entity, he said, they're rich. They don't want you to be. He says, if you ever need an attorney in regard to them, he said, get one out of this area because they all work together. Use this for example. I've been in John Maddox II's private practice at least 3 times since like year 2009 before he ever became a state representative for Arkansas. He would be a longtime co-worker to Andy Reiner. In essence, you could still say they are co-workers, just not so much out of the same office or offices locally like it used to be. Maybe so, maybe not. I don't know enough about that. So my job over the years, in some cases, as a family caretaker, throw this out there, which is very true, and hopefully this won't go out of signal. In or about February 2020, while my mother's in Mena Medical in Polk County, Arkansas, I'm reaching out to first Verizon, prepaid Verizon, on their chat support, or talking to them like, hey, can you help me with some legal matters here in Arkansas? First things first, my mother needs an intervention medically, and then there's other contractual matters I'd like to take care of after she gets better. I even went to like Verizon.com or VerizonWireless.com and looked at the very bottom. Would look to see if they had anything that would, any kind of organization that would help with legal. The only thing I could find, I don't remember the name of it, but it was associated to veterans. You think of like Wounded Warriors Project or something like that. That's not what it was labeled, but it was something like that. But anyway, when I'd be on the chat support with them, They would say, you need to reach out to your local entities or your local authorities. I said, I already have. It's not working. I said, that's why I'm talking to you. And then you're going to tell me, and that's during election time for Andy Reiner, who's at that time the almost 9-year prosecutor of Polk County, Montgomery County, Arkansas. Don't tell me he had the only biological child or grandchild my mother ever had. Please don't tell me that's going to be a reality. And one of the last attorneys she ever spoke with before she died was him, according to one girlfriend. I don't know what month that took place in. Could have went as far back as March of 2020, but she didn't tell me about it until June or July 2020. She shouldn't have been sitting in court in June or July 2020 is what I'm getting at. She transitioned from county jail in about March or April 2020 to a state facility. So I don't know what month exactly she saw my mother in jail. In court. I buy her before June of 2020. I finally did. You recommended it to me over a month before I done it. It was Verizon. Fill out their online land survey for a cell tower. I made even proposals to them, even when I was trying to get contractual things settled in spring of 2020. And first thing first was medical intervention for my mother, and that's what's so sad about that. I think I even told them I hope they have a transcript of it. I think I said at first she'll be mad at me, but she'll get over it. I'm like, I knew I could get my mother leveled out. Believe me, I knew I could. That's what I only rode with my mom in a vehicle like 5 times first half 2020. My mother was still in there. Even in March of 2019, she told me and then girlfriend on my front porch after she got a Baptist in Malvern, Arkansas. She's there a mere 5 days. My mother come out so clear-headed, but so long she went back to bad behavior, just in light of and or despite of her sleep apnea condition and other conditions. But she's there a mere 5 days. And she told me and then girlfriend on the front porch at the 3458 location, my mother was saying, she's like, I've been in a mental fog for a long time and did not know it. It was a drug-induced mental fog with alcohol and pharmaceuticals. And I don't even know what. In late 2019, my mother's taking gabapentin Neurontin from her live-in boyfriend. I'm finding out after the 8-day MENA medical in late February that he had a stern look on his face. She had gotten into his hydrocodone. I'm over there in the living room at the 3437 location. And I asked my mother, I'm like, have you been drinking? She says, no. I look at her live-in boyfriend. I'm not saying names. I'm like, has she been drinking? He sincerely says, no, not that he knows of. But she leaves the room. She leaves the living room. And I look at him and I say, are you sure she's not been drinking? I said, something's affecting her personality. And then he had a very stern, his jawline got taut, and he just said she'd been into his pain meds, meaning hydrocodone. And I said, oh, that explains it. I said, that explains it. And that ended up being one of her causes of deaths, or one of the contributing causes of death on the death certificate. Toxic level of hydrocodone, Benadryl, and alcohol. I'm on the phone with driver control August the 3rd, 2020, hours before my mother dies. Driver control says, we've already revoked your driver's license. There's not much more we can do. We recommend that you reach out to the Arkansas state legislature. I did. The woman would say, I'm so sorry you're having to go through this. She says, I'll do some research or try to get back. I'll reach out to the state representative in that area. She did. Hours later that afternoon, an hour at 2 p.m., she called me back, saying she got in touch with John Max II. And he said, have you tried I don't know how to say the word, the C word, conservatorship, something Britney Spears had been going through. Basically, where you slow down the spending of money. I was more interested, I was not only interested in something like that, but I was interested in medical intervention and her driving. And she was driving on a revoked driver's license. It's like, get a load of this. The secretary, the longtime coworker, first name Rebecca, I've seen her in many times going back to year 2011, sitting next to John Max II in Montgomery County District Court. And then she had to be the main Montgomery County secretary for Andy Reiner. I think they used the same office. It's that office in Montgomery County, Arkansas. Well, when I would first do a petition for involuntary commitment in early 2020 on my mother, the first or second time, she would tell me this. She's like, Scotty, there's no law to stop anybody from drinking alcohol or to stop an adult from drinking alcohol. And then she would ask me, she's like, which do you want to file on, alcohol abuse or mental illness? And I'm thinking both, co-occurring disorders. These people had something pre-planned, pre-made up in their mind. They were not wanting me to succeed, or they thought I was out to take advantage of my mother financially or something like that, or I had no sincere care about my mother medically. And then put it in context. Did I have a that's not even so much on my mind at the time. Did I have a biological child at that time? And all these people know about it. And then look what they did for the grandmother, the biological grandmother, to that child, if this exists, if this scenario exists. What's funny, it may be true in a sense that there's no law to make an adult not drink alcohol, beyond publicly or operating a vehicle or machinery. But in February, March of 2017, I'm in county jail, and I asked the guy, I mean, he's saying he's having to go back to the penitentiary, or asked him why he's locked up for. He said he was on parole or probation, and he said for not living a law-abiding lifestyle. A woman I dated in 2013 and 2016. She's on the phone with me June, July 2020, not long before my mother, Debbie Abbott, passes away, wanting to know if she can parole out to that address, and also acting like she would help my mother. And I'm bringing up my mother's drinking. She's telling me she can't even be around beer. She can't even be around a beer store or liquor store, because when she gets out of state penitentiary, she's going to be on parole or probation. So in a sense, there is a law. There is what I'm getting at. It just depends on how it applies. The last petition I did for involuntary commitment was on my mother, Debbie Abbott, was over the incident June the 10th. 2020, she gets the front bumper of the Nissan up against the residence I'm in now. I made myself call the local sheriff's office. I didn't want to. I first called Troop K. They said, well, you got to call the sheriff's office. Uh, I did. They come out. There's two men, a Hispanic who's younger than me, and then a Caucasian who I'd never met before who's older than me. So as soon as they get there on the premises of the 3458 Highway 8 driveway, they say, we didn't see who done this, so there's nothing we can do about it. Now, if they've been monitoring something back then unknown to me, from sky surveillance, Google Earth, look how facetious they are. Look how they word things. Look how biased things have been for quite some time, unknown to me. Within 10 minutes after that comment, I never get off the front porch. The Hispanic deputy is standing in between the parked 2017 Nissan car and me. He's standing on the ground with a concrete slab, and then more in the driveway, my mom's talking to the Caucasian deputy. I can't hear everything that's said, but then he walks over to the porch, looks up at me, and starts asking about allegations that my mother said about me supposedly getting up on the roof and removing a Dish Network satellite. And he asked very seriously. You know what? If it didn't go in my mind that moment, I think in that moment, it was soon after they left, and it made me rather angry. Like, just 10 minutes earlier, they're saying about the car matter. They didn't see who done it. They can't do anything about it. So why is he asking me about allegations of something that was hearsay? Nobody saw if it happened or not. And by the way, I never got up on the roof, and I never messed with a satellite dish on the roof. So these people were very, very biased, very, very biased. And looking back on it in hindsight, I think they were afraid that I was going to get more of a singular landlord position through my mother, Debbie Abbott, with her ailing health condition. They were afraid that I was going to get a bona fide landlord position through my mother, Debbie Abbott, in something like that. Or maybe they're afraid I was going to do loans or something financial. Who knows what they thought. But they apparently thought, or they believed something. I don't know. I start writing on the petition after my mother got the car parked there. If it just been a few more pounds of pressure, it would have caved in the outside of the wall, would have dented the hood of the car, maybe would have deployed the airbag light. The airbag light had been on since late 2019. I told that to the common driver and pointed it out to him. He thought it was a seatbelt light. I start writing on the petition June the 11th. I don't submit it until June the 12th, the day before my birthday. It happened to be a Friday. I'm on the front porch at the 3437 location. He's no longer alive. I mean, no disrespect to him, but here's a new blacked out ride pulling in at the bottom of the driveway. Fuzz Robbins, longtime jail administrator, bringing my mother home from the screening. She apparently just got screened for like an hour or so many hours, if that. And I was over there tending to animals, and I was so hopeful that day when I got a call from the sheriff's office saying we picked up your mom, Debbie Abbott, and we were told that while she's gone, you'll take care of her pets. It was hot weather. That's why I went over there. And that's the third time I did that year. I was so optimistic. I was thinking she's going to be gone, not in Mena, but in Hot Springs for like 3, 4, 5 or more days. She come back that day via the driver, Fuzz Robbins. I'm on the front porch. They showed up 10 seconds, 30 seconds later. I'd already been pedestrian en route to walk back to the 3458 location from the 3437. The first words out of Fuzz Robbins' mouth is when I walk up, he just says, he's like, I don't think your mom wants to talk to you right now. And I said, she's on the front passenger seat. I said, oh, I said, well, I said, I was just leaving. I said, I was just about to be on the other side of the highway. He says, that's okay. Anyway, the next morning, like mid-morning, it's my birthday. My mom comes over. I'm asking her if she knew what day it was. She didn't. I'm asking her she's on the month. She's saying like the month of May. And the guy that drove her home, she just referred to him as that cop. She'd be like, that cop. That cop says no cop likes you. That cop says nobody likes you. She never even would say his name. She said that he said one of his biggest regrets in life was never having children. So it was, oh yeah, and there were some Facebook Live videos. But I hope they compile a lot of my Facebook Live videos for a defense thing, not connected to, not unlimited to being connected to other entities from YouTube, Verizon. In the hour of 9 p.m., August the 2nd, 2020, I did a Facebook Live video, I think, before and after my mother left the yard in the vehicle with her revoked driver's license. Just, a day and a half before she died. This would help me know some other things behind the scenes circumstantially that I can't put in context, that I don't have the ability to investigate or know. Was there a biological child of mine in the mix of this? And how many of the locals knew about it? While I'm trying to save my mom's life and intervene with her medically, and also with her driving on the public roadways, what are the local people doing? And still hanging me out to dry. Or I'm not going about it the formal ways, but basically getting an attorney and have some kind of motion filed. But without an attorney, look what the petitions for involuntary commitment. Well, my mom got screened all 3 occasions. I did one, January, February, and June 2020. And I mentioned in each one about her liquor intake and that she'd been talking about suicide pretty boldly, and her dangerous conduct with the automobile. So that's June 2020, and then somewhere more so in first half 2021 is when I'm discerning all the timeline events of like June of 2019 with Dr. Michael Cogrove and fellow staff and coworkers. And don't really know much to this day. I don't even technically know if I'm a biological father or not. And if I am, you can sure bet an enemy of mine has the kid or got the kid. They didn't even have the respect to talk to me, to ask me if they thought, hey, right now you don't have a suitable place to even do this or whatever. But what are they never had my wishes in mind. So that's why I keep saying these people are a legal, constitutional, and otherwise conflict of interest to me. They're about benefiting themselves, not me. So I speculate, and maybe I don't have a biological child. I don't know. I know that woman. The woman was pregnant summer 2019. And surely there's not been since then some kind of surgery to like a tubal litigation reversal to try to get her to be pregnant again. And if that's the case, somebody needs even more of a reason to hurry up before more time passes. So I'm saying that despite my screw ups over the years, financially, otherwise, maybe not even intervening with my mother, my own self, as much as I should have. The first half of 2020, before my mother passes, after she's no longer in the hospital and stuff, I'm asking her like, I don't think they'll ever cross any land here for like a cell tower. But what if they did? Would you be all right with it? She said all she said was to me was how much they pay. On a particular day, I think in June 2020, after walking from the Spring Building and feeling the hot sun, it was like a 90-something degree day. I reached out to the utility company Entergy and wanted to know if so many distances away from the state highway right away and the skyline easement, if they would be interested in putting out solar panels, if it would be enough to put energy back into the grid. A gentleman calls me back the next day from a 479 number. He said he was at a Hot Springs office. And I said I basically was trying to generate more rental revenue since John Stacks and Mountain Pure quit paying rent in the past. I asked my mom about that. I said I purposely wouldn't like the looks of it, but I said if so many feet away from the highway, if they implemented solar panels, if they found it cost efficient enough I'm like, I know it would take up hay ground. I'm like, I personally wouldn't like the looks of it, but if they found it feasible, I'm like, would you go for it? My mother said yes. And for whatever reason, the gentleman, I think he was an engineer of some type. What they told me on the phone that evening, I called before they closed on a certain business day, and I had to, I don't know what, I had to get, I got kind of bounced around on the phone. I'm not saying it was on purpose. The lady had to ask quite a bit of questions, and she said somebody would come out on the site to look. I was just basically saying a proposal. I think they would ask me, or the next day, or they're like, "Are you wanting to get independent energy seller?" And I said, "No, not necessarily." I said, "Unless I get linked up with the right entity that can do that with you guys." But I plainly told the guy, according to the ground lease with CG Roxanne LLC, when he calls me the next day, first time to talk to him, I think he was at a Hot Springs office, said he used to work at the Russellville office. He did tear up on the phone, I think, when I brought up John Stacks or rental income loss there. I don't know if he knows something that I don't know. But anyway, I said to go according to the ground lease and also the right of first refusal and restricted use agreement. I said, if it's something you guys are interested in, I said my mother and I can't just sign off on it that I'm aware of. It would take the tenant CG Roxanne LLC's approval as well. And what he specifically said to me on the phone was, he said, if we do decide to do that, he says they'll be asking you, not us. Basically saying CG Roxanne would be coming to us and saying, hey, we want to know if we can do this along with Energy or you guys as well. Entergy, however you say it. So I'm saying before that, I offered to Verizon, not that they cared or not that they got forward to a different department. I think I offered to commit, kind of like on a part-time remote position, but privately, not publicly, up to 5 years of various types of marketing and developmental ideas. I even told them, I said, if you let me see some technology that's about to be on the market, that's not on the market, I said I'm pretty good at being confidential, not disclosing anything. But I said certain things, if I know about it, it will help me learn more. I said other ideas can produce other ideas. And I think that's the specific in or about June of 2020. I said I might could spew out ideas for up to 3 months before you find one that you're willing to grab on, if it even happened at all. But that all originated going back to like February, March of 2020, me asking about legal intervention and assistance on behalf of my mother medically and for contractual matters here, speak of what's right in front of me. And then, but so many months after that, I end up doing the cell tower survey. I end up making some other proposals. And in some of it, I purposely tried not to speak. I didn't want to speak too specific of. And I even got worried about some matters then. I'm like, if I just tell my ideas, they can take it, run with it, and I never get anything out of it. And there is such thing as, in some cases, intellectual property rights, even if they're conceptual. I'm not, anyway. But I don't know what, from chat support, other communications, from prepaid Verizon to cloud. Oh, I saw earlier today, the latter half of 2020. It was through prepaid Verizon who recommended me, that I request to straight talk and/or track phone. I even printed it off of the internet. They requested I on the 2845 number get 3 months of call logs before my mother passed. I even had that discussion, saying, like the day my mother died, a week or so before, I'm like, that would be a lot of evidence and proof right there. And guess what? In or about July the 24th, July the 26th, 2020, my mother told me in person she's on the phone with state investigator Laura Hodges. And she told me in person that she said that Laura Hodges told her, said, Debbie, you're too smart to live this way. And says, I want to help you. And I'm standing in the living room, 3458 address. I said, well, Mom, I said, that's good. I said, what does she want to do? And then my mother got quiet and had a look on her face. So look at how many tax-paid state employees were in communication with before my mother died. First half of year 2020. And then my mother seeing Andy Reiner in person was not my fault or idea. I don't know why she did that. And she supposedly done it with a neighbor, a woman neighbor not far from here. I don't know which one, either one about my mother's height or one taller. If it's the taller one, it'd be a second cousin. So in touch with John Max II, the day, just hours, like 12 hours before my mother dies, August the 3rd, 2020. And again, I've been in and out of his private practice 3 times before he ever become a state rep. And again, I know there's a lot of something that's going on, but I don't know the details. And I don't know how to put it in context, legally or otherwise. And again, I'm not trained to file motions, sometimes behind the scenes. If it's something I'm personally been involved with over the span of years, I can be pretty good at giving information, context on things accurately, but I am not a trained attorney. No. If I didn't figure that out, and believe me, in 2013, I even put in that case when I did the pro se self-representation deal. I said, I'm hoping to acquire legal counsel pending this. And I tried. I even tried before I did it. With Bill McKim, the one who did my adoption papers when I was less than 3 years of age, for Debbie Abbott and Dule Abbott. And they know my history, if I tend to, I do it behind the scenes more than people know. Like me reaching out to Verizon from February to June 2020, before my mother died. Also, other times after my mother passed, about call logs and call records. So there are things that I privately do that is not just me putting it on social media. But I'm just saying, people like John Max II, Andy Reiner, it's high probability people could look at, after my grandmother left the residence, Gladys Griblin, in summer, May, that was under Laura Hodges' direction, May the 5th, 2017. They can tell when I get upset that sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't, the way I report on social media like Facebook. So they know that I'm prone to lean towards something like that. I got a history of doing it. And I think in some cases that's my business. People put advertisements in Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Some people have Facebook business pages. I don't even know what I told Norton LifeLock, among others. I don't even know what digital content they all got from me that I'll probably never see again, whether I need to or not. I just wish that it objectively sorted out on my behalf, or not let it be used again, but only for my behalf objectively. There's a point of something I was wanting to say. The May the 5th. My grandmother, I saw Laura Hodges in person, May 5th, 2017. My grandmother left, Gladys Griblin. A deputy, Jacob Coburn, was there. 2 men with the ambulance, EMS. Anyway, I end up on the phone with, let's just say, ex-girlfriend of 2018 and 2019, and who I saw just so many weeks, summer 2021, 2022. The one who said that in 2022 that she would sell her eggs to somebody who couldn't have children. Well, I'm on the phone with her then boyfriend, May the 5th, 2017, very memorable day, like within an hour or two after my grandmother leaves. And he says they're at a clinic in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and that she is potentially facing a miscarriage. Just a little bit later that year, they both discussed it. He was trying to say his hormones didn't match her hormones. She ended up saying something that sounded more medically reasonable or realistic to me. She ended up saying that the medical people told her that her stress hormone level was high. So I'm saying that had to be in maybe not an undocumented miscarriage like the Dr. Michael Cogrove said summer 2019, but it had to be documented that she was pregnant. I don't know what medical clinic they went to, and I want to say it was somewhere in Hot Springs, Arkansas. So there could be something more to this. It may not be, miscarriages. It may be they've gotten her contracted out over the years somehow or another to carry babies to full term, almost full term, and they dictate and delegate them to whom they choose. And just thinking it's some poor Arkansas hillbilly, he'll never know. He doesn't need to know. But then somewhere in my case, they may or may not had that motive, or they more so had more of a greedy motive. They're like, oh, land, oh, money, and he's been broadcasting it on Facebook for years. I don't know what the good neighbor law means. I don't know. And that same guy that I say I was on the phone with May the 5th, 2017, more recently, he's been saying this entity has been stealing water. I don't know exactly what he means by that. But saying that the pockets from the other landlord where they popped from his spring, it's gotten so low, it's getting water under the ground from this lease premises. But there's been hints, I don't know, that certain politicians like John Max II and others have went out of their way to change laws to not benefit me from things that I've already disclosed on Facebook or social media in the past. Things associated to like right of first refusal, rule against perpetuities. I don't know what all. On a Windows HP device in late 2021, I even gave commentary about, I think, the private selling of beer. I was buzzed on alcohol. I don't remember what I all said. Were they spying in on me then? I was saying on Facebook soon after my mother died. I mean, I don't know what I all said, but I was hoping everybody in the medical neglect forum would sign off. She's seeing a sleep specialist, Arlene Sullivan, out of Little Rock, Arkansas, where she's getting 20 milligrams of Ambien. I was hoping the local sheriff's office would sign off. All medical providers in the past 6 months or greater, from her primary care provider to the sleep specialist to whoever else there was, or the MENA Medical. That had been like the Dr. David Brown, who's no longer alive. Well, anyway, I was saying then, I was hoping just to have everything settled. I was wanting like $70,000 with or without the car. I was trying to be modest, I thought, but I didn't have an attorney to push anything for me on if anything was a wrongful death suit or not. About that time or since then, there's supposedly, I don't know if anything come of it, but it was a black family in Little Rock, Arkansas. Supposedly Little Rock PD did a wrongful death. They killed a man that was innocent. The family was asking for either $7 million or $8 million. And these people, these locals here, they know I can't act without an attorney, and they know I can't easily get one. So anyway, I don't know what's going on. Don't even know if I'm a biological father, and if I am in that case, you know what how the birth certificate is structured. Probably nothing to do with me. But anyway, whether I was the father or not, she had to be pregnant summer 2019. She had to be, and I ended up seeing photos way later, like in early 2021, off a memory chip of something I stuck in an ONN tablet. Photos I took of her and video from like late 2018 to spring 2019. Even her walking on the riverbank, like March or May 2019. The woman. I started looking at her build and her physical build in a totally different angle, a totally light. Where I'm thinking in late 2018 and even spring 2019 and later, I'm like, oh, well, she's just, as she gets closer to 40, she's going to have the build of her mother. And she'd already, to say it plainly, she'd already told me before in late 2018, she'd messed up her body chemistry from years of drug use, mainly methamphetamine. Even messed up her hair growth. Without disclosing it to her. If I did, it wasn't until early 2020. She was filing her idea. She was filing for Social Security disability summer 2018. It was not my idea. After she did a runoff leave, I totally tried to give her a clean slate on. She left for 5 days in August 2018. She's back for 5 days. And then in September 2018, she leaves for 10 days. Just to say in short form, during that time, I did an online, first ever, did the online FBI report over some things I was told knew or whatever in regard to the death of Jody Fogle. I typed a letter to Social Security Disability Determination in Little Rock, called like 2 days later to see if they received it. The lady on the phone said they did. I put in there that if she was approved, I basically thought she needed a payee. I said some things other than that. It was like a 2-page letter, but I was typing on a program I'd never typed before. My format was not real. It was not real professional. It was kind of sloppy. But she did some reconsiderations 2 times after that. The last time with an attorney. I was just hoping that Social Security was that they got my first letter and they carried it over. That I did some wrongs there on not disclosing some things of what she was doing to her primary care physician and maybe even to Social Security. But I didn't make that mistake in 2022. I called her local PCP office twice before her January appointment, and I called at least once before the July 2022 appointment. I don't guess they believed me, or I don't guess they cared. Over how she's possible overly taking Seroquel. She's got up one morning, February 2022. She's stumbling. A couple hours later, she's on the couch and she's talking about how the screen of her phone is blurry. I ended up doing an internet search that day, and one of the side effects of Seroquel was blurred vision. And I find out just in weeks or less than 2 months after my mother, Debbie Abbott, died, patients with sleep apnea, one of the main medications that they're not supposed to take, Seroquel. Found out later also Depakote, Ambien may be on there too. I called the local sheriff's office just like say a week ago, or I don't know, the 17th, 19th, June 2023. They're telling me she's incarcerated at the Montgomery County, Arkansas jail. I asked, how can I send a message? They say City Telecoin. I tried that night. I tried the next morning. I couldn't do it. So many days later, I tried again. I ended up calling again. I don't know why. They ended up saying she was going to get transferred to Polk County, Arkansas. Mena, Arkansas. And she did. She's only there like a day and a half if they're telling me the truth over the phone. The last time I called, just like 3 or 4 days ago or less, today's the July the 2nd, 2023, they said she got released. And you might be like, why are you trying to reach out to her after you've given all this commentary? You're basically saying that somebody you can't trust, potential human trafficker, do secret pregnancies. Well, I'm just, I don't know what to say on that. I just, I mean, I could say something. I mean, I'm hoping that if there is a biological child, I hope they're not being biased where she gets to meet the biological child before me or end up living under the same roof. as a biological child that come from me, and then she's being coerced and probably also an advocate of like, oh yeah, hitting for child support, or yeah, we want land. I don't even like that thought or that speculatory concept. But it's almost like, if she's never met the biological child, and yet if I ever get to, it'd be nice to do that with her, or if she's sober, or if she is ever in a situation where she wanted to be sober and would do it. I've told her that in the past. I would do it right along with her. I've even brought it up in the farther back past. I wish she wouldn't even smoke cigarettes. The biggest issues, unless I ever mistook some of my own prescribed clonazepam, worst thing I ever did from time to time was maybe get out of hand on beer, or every now and then hit some of my mom's liquor. All in all, I wasn't that bad. Really, the harder drug use I did was really, in some cases, at her motivation. And if I ever do something like that, I feel less guilty about doing it as a single man than in a relationship with a woman, that it just makes it feel like it's so not on a productive course. Even though, anyways, like if I'm in a mutual relationship, it's like I want to be working together in a mature sense on common goals, not just wasting life away. In that regard, whether it's hypocritical or not, or a better justification, I'd rather do that single than in a relationship. I'd rather be in a relationship, what I'm trying to say is, that's upbuilding than one that tears down mutually. And I felt like with her, in a lot of areas I fall short on, she kind of naturally picks up on it, and I'm that way with her in certain other areas without describing it. And not that we've ever gardened much together, but she's the person I've gardened with the most over the years, and that's a sad concept there, that we didn't get to do more of that, and maybe she want to, and then certain children along the way, even though they're maybe in late teen years, get to learn some things in that concept, or in that category, gardening, horticulture. So I'm just saying, for me, even if I would rather know that she's single out there. I mean, hopefully not. Nobody's trying to get her to do like pornography or make money in videos that way or do drugs. But it would be way less of a pill to swallow. I know I wouldn't have a chance. Like if she's like either under the household where I got a biological child, or dating somebody who's wanting to try to raise my biological child for whatever reason, that hurts. That hurts. I don't even want to go there. But it's like in the terms of a whole lot easier to forgive, even if who I think is an enemy has my biological child, and she kept the pregnancy secret, say for the sake of argument, summer 2019. I'm saying if she was, that's a whole lot easier for me to deal with in that area with her. And I'm probably hearing dog Jasmine bark. She never even graduated high school, but she's a lot smarter than what people would think. I think she quit school in about the 10th grade. But my point is these other people that have helped keep this secrecy, if this really did happen, very educated people, from politicians to doctors. I mean, she's the low end of the totem pole if she wronged me that way. I mean, it's a very, very bad wrong, but this Dr. Michael Colgrove, the surgeon, he probably has a salary somewhere between 100, 200,000 a year. Whatever Arkansas authorities or attorneys may or may not have done. They're educated people. Again, that goes back to conflict of interest and probably a negation of constitutional rights. Whether or not separation of church and state applies in this matter, but the right of pursuit of happiness, and certain things can be seized by unlawful search and seizures. So if I've had private content taken off of a digital device or spied in, and then somebody's trying to sell it, on what justification? Saying I owe child support that I've never actually been informed about? And that may be just a crazy concept right there of something that's not taking place. That's why I wish I had more bona fide legal representation to help me know what is the situation. what are the do's and don'ts. And yes, I do need money, and it would be nice, to even, try to mediate something. I can't do that by myself. I don't even know collectively what the situation is. And often in situations like this, my nature is I've already felt like I've said so much to certain entities like the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So it's like I'm like working this way on a matter I don't know about, and I'm hoping to settle it, fix it, or deter it before it gets any worse. If a lot of this could be realizations, or could be true, not just hypothetical speculations. Oh, she was pregnant, summer 2019. Whether I was the father or not, what they did with the kid, I don't know. Apparently, I don't know if they gave the kid to a sister of hers, sold the kid to another country. I don't know if they gave the kid to the Andy Reiner and his wife. I don't know if somebody's going to be really wanting property or child support. Somewhere, how they went about it, I would, even at this point, not that I get it, I would like at least some kind of settlement with the Arkansas entities, Arkansas governor, or Arkansas government, whether it deals with the Dr. Michael Cogrove and others medical malpractice insurance, especially if somebody is pursuing or wanting to pursue or already trying to do it through Arkansas Department of Finance Administration, like child support. I really need legal representation in that area and get something mediated better than what that they will just just take over or let it take over happen with my own DNA on the line. And other people know, entities like Apple, Verizon, Samsung, Android, so on and so forth. They sometimes have to give over phone records. Oh, and speaking of that, was the communications between John Max II and Andy Reiner on August the 3rd, 2020, just hours before my mother died? Were there any back and forth, email, text, so on and so forth? So I'm saying, being pursued. I mean, I need to settle other debts, other financial matters. But if there's something in the mix, child support, if I do have a biological child, I don't know. I need something sorted out. I need something done better. It doesn't look like I don't know. I almost said her name. Ex-girlfriend. Doesn't look like I'll ever get to work out anything with her. I'm just saying, if she's single, even if I don't get to raise a biological kid with her, she's got one that's already existence. I've got kind of like two almost step kids out there. One turns 20 this year. The other in October. The other one turns 18. Her daughter turns 18 in December. It's just like if we were doing something productive, and they used to call her Aunt So and So, going all the way back to like 2015. I don't know what year they started calling her Aunt So and So, but I know I got reminded of it by her before fall in 2018. So she's familiar with some of the same kids that I am, and a lot of people would consider them more or less grown. One turns 20 this year, the other one turns 18. But I'm just saying, not that this would ever happen. It'd be easier for me if I'm not having to do it by myself as a single adult. But just to say life is in order, not too worried about finances. But say commonly, you even had a modest greenhouse somewhere, or just doing something, be it with horticulture or something else. It's like, from time to time, it's like if they're wanting to make money, it could be something for them to do, and also at the same time learn something about something, or like, hey, you got to do it right, or hey, this is something you got to be slow and patient about. I mean, I don't know if you've ever put like tomato seed in seed trays. you know uh, you know you got to be pretty delicate and patient about it. When you're just putting one or two tomato seed in seed starter trays, and then you have to you basically use a spray bottle to water them thereafter for so long until they bring root. You can't just leave them out in the open and let them get rained on. It'll push the seed around. It'll wash the seed out. Basically, until they start becoming a sturdy young tomato plants, you can't leave them out in a strong rain. And I'm talking about that on the seasonal part, with the, spring to summer, not with a greenhouse. So I mean, there for me, there's things I've ever since I was like 12 and then onward. There's things that I've always had an interest, not just wildlife, nature, but horticulture, gardening that I've never really stuck with or learned as much as I might would have liked to have learned or about it or got involved with it. It's quite a few interests there over the years that I never really went real deep with, aside from like photography or nature photos or whatever. If I end up staying in a region like this, I need another one of them Fuji waterproof cameras. I think just yesterday I saw it might have been a soft shell turtle in some really rather shallow water. But with a smartphone carrying that around, I can't operate. I can't do what I would do otherwise. And I'm really been losing a lot of interest on a lot of my hobbies. I mean, I was saying in late 2021 I all but gave up, but I've been feeling that more strongly in the past so many months, the first half of this year, and like wanting to give up or am, but in certain indirect ways. Hmm. I guess it's that one. I don't know if that's a satellite or they don't look as big and bright as it did earlier. It flickers, whatever it is. Anyway, I guess I got it off of here. I mean, I hope, I don't know. I just wish I could privately try to say this in memory. Whatever it is that's going on, especially if it's timely, I don't know. I just wish if it's somebody doing online content, trying to sell it, if somebody's in pursuit of child support, I mean, so, and I'm not going to lie on a personal financial cure, whether that deals with a lawsuit or mediation or whatever. I mean, I'm wanting that to happen kind of quickly. I'm wanting the piece of that, whether it's a just and proper relief from certain doctors and or Arkansas aspects of Arkansas state government. And some people could say statute of limitations are too late. I don't know enough. They might not be. They might not be on a wrongful death, because Laura Hodges was saying she wanted to help my mother in July of 2020. She also showed up with Deputy Rutledge, who's part owner of Bob's grocery store, telling I'm standing on the front porch. This had to be, unless this was late 2019, this was spring, summer 2020. Laura Hodges in person saying, if your mother has dementia over Alzheimer's, I can help her. And then so many weeks or months after that, just like a week before my mother dies, my mother said she's on the phone with her on or about like July the 24th, July 26th, somewhere in there, 2020. So to play off on the statute of limitations, if somebody like Laura Hodges specifically and others were trying to justify that Debbie was in their care when she passed and that they owe lands here, see, I can't prove how long that got drawn out. If something like that did happen and did get drawn out, farther into like year 2021 or something, or even more recent, statute of limitations may not be told or expired, or they would be on primary medical providers. Lots of things I don't know and can't, so I'm basically saying I'm in need of knowledge and knowing how to work with it. So regardless of how it looks to others behind the scenes or whatever, I've only shown of isolated sides of myself, and a lot of it to my own detriment or negative on like Facebook or whatever. First half 2020, talking to my mom about what if a cell tower, what if I said I can't, they may not cross land here, but what if they did? I'm like, what about the solar panels? A couple of years before that, I've tried to bring up a mutual family consolidation matter. I even told her, I gave her a few different proposals. I even said I'd help move everything, like, to make the far back room closest to the garage. I'm like, Mother, unless you get a camper, I brought up like her and live-in boyfriend doing something else. I'm like, this house has got to be in better order. Like, y'all don't need to be doing this. I tried to help her refinance her car in late 2019, early 2020. She got the car in like February 2019. I didn't even learn what the interest rate of it was until late 2019. I knew she was going to do bad on that. And, and yeah, I'm the one that accidentally busted out the oil pan on the Chevrolet HHR car, summer 2018. I felt very bad about it too. And bought a $160 aftermarket one from like O'Reilly's. If the woman I dated in 2018, 2019 had been more mature, grounded, solid, because she wanted to be with me, odds are my mother would probably still be alive, regardless of any potential secret pregnancy. I was even telling her before fall of 2018, I wish she could be a part-time driver for my mother, and I could like actually pay her to be such. If that woman was sober, I liked her driving ability. If she's sober, I'm not. She's a good driver. There's more I could say about that in other areas, but I won't. About somebody that she could have been teaching to drive that I even kind of brought up before somebody started driving early this year. So in her area, she's pretty good at landscaping or yard, whatever. She's a good cook, good organizer, good driver, and whether or not she's sober today or what, I mean, I guess somebody else is gonna benefit from that and not me. And again, it's just gonna be a hard pill to swallow or a hard reality to swallow if I learn she's under the same roof with a biological child of mine, and it's like bam, I'm in that lose lose deal. And why would people be? She's the one that put me in that position. Not that that's taking place, but why would they be catering to her and being biased to her when she's the one who covered up her pregnancy and done drugs while pregnant, so on and so forth? And I'm not saying that to belittle her, but I'm saying that about the seriousness of a potential unknown situation. And how I feel, I keep feeling like, it's not fair on my side. And again, if there is something with child support, man, I need quickly. I would need bona fide, objective legal representation, and to make some formal something before too late, or even if there, or something about a objective trustee or trust account. And so many suggestions I could make, even privately, if I had proper legal representation. But anyway, I'm probably not going to get to do anything mature with her. I get if I'm not going to ever get to meet anything, or either way, what I'm about to say next, I hope it happens quickly and fairly. I need things financially in order, and I'm hoping to have. Well, that goes into. There's so many other things that need maintenance, not only like from dental to pets. And I keep getting the hints. Why and who would be wanting me to move so bad? Well, what is the big deal? Unless it's going over a collection. Even this neighbor has hinted about it over a year ago, and he plainly said what's in here. Why and who would be after the 3458 location so much, or which one? I don't know much about that. Or are they going to just say like, is it over a debt default? Is it over drug use? Too many pets? Or they got developmental plans? They're wanting to put in a lodge, a rock mining business, a pizza place, a Murphy USA gas pumps, or even if it's something like that. Why am I totally not? Why am I not having the ability to make any money off of it? Why are people wanting me gone so bad? Or what? Well, why have all these hints adding up over the span of time, but no explanation? I even asked the identity guard over the phone in about March of 2021 when they said there was some kind of public notice under the name of me and my mother, Debbie Abbott. And the following Monday, I needed to call the circuit clerk's office. And I did. I spoke to Penny Black, but I just asked him on the phone casually. I said, what does it look like they're wanting to do? Put in a truck stop and a cafe? He said, it looks like it. Talking about basically where I'm at here, because just behind me, going back to summer 2008, this entity offered $500 more in rent to get 1.97 acres more or less because they were going to expand that facility. Senator Boozman was here August 2019. The front page with the plant manager. The local paper said that this entity acquired a contract with Walmart. I've had a lot of references with Walmart from then and since. Many of them I described earlier here in regard to the online deal, like buy organic toddler food. But the ones I haven't said, maybe this can be my true summary. Somebody in or about March of 2022 says, turn where my mother died into a mineral shop or rock shop. 2022 on Meta Messenger, the photo of the girlfriend was asking if there was places along the river here to go rock hounding. But they also brought, where I'm getting at is they brought up Walmart or Walton's in early March of 2022, saying that his aunt was friends with a Walton or a Walmart person out of the state of Texas. And then just over a year before that, the neighbor, one of the closest neighbors in this area, who plainly said Walmart wants in here, and when Walmart people are around, you won't know it. There's like a 4-something minute in the dark video where I explained basically just that about the affiliations with Walmart. I don't know if I got into the organic toddler food and the online deal or not. Like even in September 2022, approximately, Windows HP, but by self-help books, codependency. So apparently, does Walmart have the biological kid? If there is a biological kid, is it with Andy? Is he or she with Andy Reiner or with a Walmart or Walton? I just learned in the past couple of months ago they're doing something with Kind Body or something to help people that can't get pregnant, unless that's just coincidental timing. I would like to have a driver's license back. I'd like to have a driver's license back, be able to drive. There's things, if this, without getting into details, if this system carries on long enough, there's things I'd like to be able to peacefully do and not be forced to interact with certain other people if I even get the chance. Why did she even show up a few times last year, 2022? Surely it wasn't an attempt to get pregnant, or was it just she had no other place to stay? She seemed like her drug seeking was. She even plainly told me it was like worse than what it was in 2018 and 2019. Now, I'm not saying her name out of respect, but there can't be a technicality of some. I think Meta Facebook is a little bit more liberal than YouTube. But YouTube, sometimes a certain thing you show or say, they'll be like it violates their community standards for identifying somebody, and it gets taken down. And in as much as I'm talking, I wish in some cases, I don't know, that they'd just bleep it out. Or not that this is going to be usable commentary or testimony for anything or not, but I'm in an unknown situation. But anyway, if that woman is single and willing to work with me, totally sober, I'd be open to it. And yeah, that's me basically saying whether I'm the father or not, I think she committed a secret pregnancy in summer 2019. She had to be pregnant. And I don't think that's her first rodeo. And those doctor people that she's seeing over there in Hot Springs, Arkansas, I don't think that's their first rodeo. I think they got a history of it, whether I'm right or not, whether it matters or not. But in the meantime, if things are not going to go that way, and they're definitely going in a one-sided way, I hope I can get legal representation and help get things. One, learn what's going on, know how to go about it objectively, legally, without conflict of interest in the way. If there are any in the way, have the proper legal recourses to get those removed. Like if there has to be a motion to intervene on my behalf, if I had a legal counsel that I choose to represent me, it's like I need you to intervene on my behalf, because look what so and so has been doing for months or a half a year, over a year, and I have no knowledge of it whatsoever. and apparently they're more than willing to keep going that direction. So it's like in that regard, I'm a sitting duck. I don't know what they've done, but if it's going back to Arkansas government in cahoots with other businesses, they've done something very very bad in regard to me. Not that I'll get it resolved or anything out of it, or I've never harmed a child in my life. As early as 2017, I'm posting on Facebook about folate for people that know they're either pregnant or going to get pregnant. Folate, the natural version of folic acid, it's good for spinal development, brain development. Going back to enter about year 2010, I had a note, a Facebook note, talking about child abuse, the statistics of it. Like it's 1 out of 6 for boys, 1 out of 3 for girls. I think it used to be 1 out of 4 for girls. And I was not making any money off of that. That was taking my time, whatever I put in there. It was something, some things I learned over the years without trying. And I just thought, hey, maybe there's people out there in the position of being parents. I'm not, but that's something I've known for many, many years. That if you're in the position of being a parent, you got to be careful who you leave your kid with. I know that medically, statistically, psychologically. And I've basically known that on the increase since I was, I don't know what age, maybe 12, but it probably started getting more refined somewhere between 17 and older. I think I'm seeing a TV show like Dateline or 2020 enter about year 1996, where they're like having a teddy bear on a shelf with a camera in it while there's babysitters there. It seemed like so many years after that, there was like a daycare or a babysitting place or a preschool where they had it set up with cameras where a parent could check in and see in the room of the classroom from time to time for their own comfort. That preacher guy, I don't know what religion he was of, like Baptist or Methodist or something, in Waldron, Arkansas. It was on one of them shows years ago that over the course of years he had molested like over 100 boys. He was known as the local preacher, and he got purposely involved with Boy Scouts. That was how I think his main avenue to do it is when they were like going camping or something. I don't remember how old the boys were, but they were younger than 18. One of them, he's molesting them, more or less, you might could say, in a sense, maybe raping them. I don't remember all the details, but one got their dad's gun. I want to say a shotgun. The two boys conspired together. They killed the man. From what I remember of it, this is literally like 30 years ago, 28, 30 years ago. So my memory's not real vivid of it. Uh, um, Anyway, they got tried as adults, and I know I talked about that on Facebook a long time in the past. So it wouldn't be. I'm not going to get into all that. There's lots of things I've been told in my lifetime, even way before the age of 18, not that I didn't read in a book and didn't see on TV. That some bad accounts that people went through in their childhood years. So I'm just. And then without trying, well, at the age of 12, I thought I wanted to be a psychologist. Age of 18, 19, I thought I wanted to be a psychologist. So somewhere along the way, I start picking up statistics that I'm not even trying to get. I want to say in about the 4th grade, they're saying for Arkansas, not a nation statistic, a statewide statistic. It was about like 1 out of every 6 Arkansan child went to bed hungry. Um, I don't remember what year, not beyond the mid 2000s, they started vaccinating in some schools in America 12-year-old girls for like HPV. I can't even pronounce it. The whatever virus. They don't seem to talk about that like they used to. What's changed? We used to hear about HIV patients in the 80s and even the 90s, like dying of pneumonia. Some of that, maybe it was because maybe some people were commonly getting reinfected with HIV, and that was lowering their immune system. Why do we not hear about? It's got to be contrary to the medications, unless the human body's just adapted or evolved to it. Why do we not hear in mainstream news like did in the 80s and 90s about a lot of AIDS or HIV patients dying of pneumonia? There's got to be millions of up to millions or however many just in America alone. They're HIV infected and don't even know it and don't take medications for it. What's changed there? Just from a somewhat medical hypotheses, if anything. Saying years ago, the younger generation text on the phone more than they talk on one. Carpal tunnel surgeries have went up tremendously from all the texting. I don't know much about the video games. That's a big deal to a lot of people, to teens, to 20 somethings, even older. I think pornography addiction is went up tremendously. They started changing the laws 10 plus years ago because all the texting and driving or using a wireless device while operating a vehicle. Nowadays, it's like the common MP3 deal. If people are not taking a text or looking up a song or trying to change the music, the younger generation doesn't even hardly listen to the FM radio. It's all saved on their smartphone. There's been articles out there, I think, even showing the trend of this before COVID 19 and so associated and unassociated COVID 19, that young people, a bad deal of social anxiety, scared of dealing with the public, in some cases, even dealing with, if not people in person, even over the phone. So, in that regard, there's a big social trend that's taking place globally. And I just learned this the other day that all states no longer offering new homeowners insurance in the state of California, like State Farm had already decided. But anyway, I need them to be quiet, I guess. We'll get off of here. I've wondered about screen sharing, screen recording. Like pretty much everything I do, is it retained and later reviewed on my phone? Am I sometimes vocally broadcasted? If so, how? Why? What does that lead up to? So in that regard, it's like I don't know what privacy I do or don't have. I went to the SEC. I don't know who's behind it or a big part of the government. So many weeks ago, I went to tell. I hardly ever go to like the SEC.gov the website when to put something. It's like they want to make fun of me in there. They're like, "Oh, report it," or "Oh, do this," or go get a traditional job or something. It's like they all know. It's like I'm tracked, and I don't know what that's originating from. It's like, how am I identified on everything and why? And was there apparently no due process on that? No right to judge or jury trial, no right of defense, no right of explanation on whatever what they just up and decided something about me, like, oh, this guy, he's unworthy, or we're just going to take a kid and hopefully get property later on. I don't know. Why did the neighbor mention over a year ago something about a good neighbor law? I want to look that up. What was it? That sounds like something that would be affiliated with Walmart, unless that's a religious connotation or implication. Why people? They had it in their mind not long before my mother passed. Why is people? Why have people on the thought of me moving? Well, why has that been moving, leaving? What are their business developmental plans? How am I in the way? And why would I not even get just what made the decision? Like, I don't even get an offer. Like, oh, we want to do something different with the property, or are you willing to sell out, or willing to lease differently than where you're at? Why is it not going that way? Am I even going to get to learn any of that? So something big has been going on behind the scenes where lots of people, entities from local aspects of Arkansas government to other entities, they know and I don't have the ability to figure it out. And it's been a very, very cruel, mean, heartless process. And I just learned what I don't hardly watch TV, but I learned later I didn't even know that all the mass shootings were going on. What have I done in my day? Maybe what send too many text messages to people, too many emails, and people are going to say I've been this horrible harassing person. I saw Laura Hodges in person. I guess if it wasn't in the first half of 2020, my mom just a week or so before she died, there was nothing me doing in harassment there. That was just a level of persistence. And if I followed the petitions wrong at the office Rebecca works out of for the Montgomery County Circuit Prosecution's Office, she gave me no insight. Like, hey, you need to go file this in the circuit clerk's office. Either way, my mother still got picked up on if the first one didn't count on the later two. She wasn't under my roof that many weeks last year, part of January, February 2022, and then part of July and August 2022. Um, I showed her the medical bracelet that she got on the pre-registration day from National Park Medical Center, Hot Springs, Arkansas. She got it June 26, 2019, to be registered for the outpatient surgery with Dr. Michael Cogrove that took place on June 28th, 2019. I showed it to her in person. She just, for like less than 3 seconds, looked at it and said, "Oh, from my surgery." Nothing seemed to ring a bell. I don't know, but people, if they do something like that, they tend to block it out. You know, women especially, they'll block out something like it don't even exist because they'll think of themselves as a horrible person or a horrible mother, and they won't even acknowledge it. So and apparently I've even heard of in the past that people that are pregnant and they know they do a pre-planned adoption but don't want to do abortion, that they have it even pre-planned. They say it's easier for the mother to never see the child. They don't even, like, if they don't even sedate the mother, they just have something like a curtain up. They never even let her hold the baby, see the baby, because it will trigger or could trigger naturally motherly instincts and make it a lot harder to want to part with the child. And in some of those cases, you may have already had the expecting parents, the adoptee parents, that were paying the medical bills along the way or doing some supportive things along the way, where the person basically the mother decided months in advance, no, I don't want to keep the child. But some women in those situations maybe change their mind. So if they knew she was they had to, if the pelvic ultrasounds proved she was pregnant, summer 2019, after she left the room, after she got the IV in her right hand and they gave her a Xanax, I don't know what they all did when she left the room. That, as far as I know, they completely sedated her, completely put her out. She come back puffy and with oxygen in her nose. But a week or two before that, Dr. Michael Cogrove said they would fill her belly up with gas, so he would be able to see in there with the camera better. And he said on July the 11th, 2019, on the follow-up appointment, that he wanted to do the ablation while he was in there, which he described as a 90-second procedure where they burn out the lining of the uterus. And his words were, 50% of women never have a period again. And on that follow-up appointment, he said she had polycystic ovarian syndrome. So other than my hindsight analysis, there was nothing to make me think she was pregnant at that time or those times. Not medically, not from him, not from Dr. Michael Cogrove, so on and so forth. But I ended up learning way later, and some of the hints helped. Apparently she was, and apparently something was pre-planned about it. that's 4 years ago. The surgery was just barely 4 years and a week ago. And I can guarantee you, if there's a kid of mine, it's going to turn out to be basically an enemy. Somebody who has no respect for me, had no respect for my mother before she died. Somebody that is just a greedy tyrant taker. That's my sneaking suspicion. Anyway, now what do I hit? I don't even know how to. If I just X's it, is it going to get rid of it? Or do I just hit the X up there and it doesn't go away? I don't want to just lose it all. Spent this much time. I didn't know I'd talk this much time. I didn't know it would work. I decided I was going to come over here and just try some things out where it's faster.